second verse, some of y'all done heard me say this so many times, one day it'll click. But when you go to the 5th chapter of the book of Genesis in the 2nd verse, it says, and he called them Adam. So that means that before sin entered into the garden, her name was her husband's name. Her name didn't become Eve until sin came in. The man, once sin came in, he was ignorant. He didn't even know the difference between light and darkness, righteous and unrighteous. Y'all said, where have you been? What's going on? I was naked. Y'all say, how you know you was naked? In other words, sin taught him that he was naked.
Right.
He didn't know the difference. Right. It says, we now have tasted, we have become as gods now. Why? Because sin now is in the Garden of Eden. In other words, sin opened up our eyes. We were blind, and then sin opened up our eyes to spirituality, also to carnality. So that which we couldn't see, now we see. We wasn't gods before, but now sin has came. Some of you, before you heard me teach and preach about the game, you thought that all pimps was ignorant. You thought that all pimps had a speech impediment. You thought that all pimps, basically, you understand me, couldn't spell, no intelligence, no elegance, no diligence to study, or any of that. You thought pimps was stupid. A lot of you thought that. And some of you had a fucked up connotation, definition, depiction, vision of the lifestyle, until the game used me as a vessel to teach and preach about this game. So when I expound and begin to say profound things about this game, now enlightenment came. Now you see the game on another wise. You got a revelation now. Sin opened up your eyes. You didn't know the difference between right and wrong in the game. You didn't know the difference between righteous and unrighteous until sin taught you. And if I could put it like that, a lot of y'all didn't know the difference between spirituality and carnality. And the reality of it is, until God used me, a minister, a preacher, a pimp, to give it to you. So if it had not been for sin, a lot of you wouldn't have never even knew what this was, or that was, or how to do this, or how to do that, or what is the game, or why is this, and how could it be applied. You didn't know that until sin. So by all means, sinful is definitely the right name for me, because I'm the embodiment of sin, number one. Because as Paul said in Romans 7:18, for I know that in me that is in my flesh dwelleth no good thing. So as long as I'm in this carnal, ungodly, unorthodox flesh, even when I make my transition and transformation and receive the salvation of Yah, I will still be in this carnal, sinful flesh that is the embodiment of carnality. That's why when you see righteous people, they still do sometimes things that are unrighteous. Why? Because they still prone to do that, because they still in this. They still in flesh. So, you know, just to put a little paint where it ain't and say what most can't, give it clarity and show and cheer. You know what I mean? A lot of y'all would have never knew what holiness was until God used me. A lot of you wouldn't even knew what the difference between righteousness and unrighteousness was. A lot of you wouldn't even knew that religion is contrary to what God even wants until God used me. And a lot of you wouldn't even know what this game is until the game and God used me. So you wouldn't have known if it wasn't for sin. You know what I mean? So I appreciate God using me, sin, the embodiment of sin. You know what I mean? So yeah, I definitely got the right name.
Real talk, man. Real talk. Hey, we appreciate God using you. Hey, my nigga, we appreciate God for Andre Taylor, man. And I'll be glad when that nigga do the good, Gorgeous Drake versus Andre Taylor. It's like,